when is being announced?
Next week.
Next week. So fingers crossed for her, who almost was here. But her book is in the back if you're interested. It's yeah, to say that.
Her book is terrific.
Yes. Okay. So there you go. 2 people said her book's terrific. So we're going to start off tonight with Ransom Stevens, who is actually a member of the Litquake team. And you can just pull that cord, it's really long. And he's a novelist, a physicist, and a science writer. His latest novel, The Sensory Deception, was published in August. Every year, Ransom, I put a plug in for you. Every year, he produces barely published writers and a science-based panel filled with Nobel laureates and other heavy hitters for Litquake. And those are both upcoming, so you can hit both of them after this. One is today, and the other one Monday. Yeah. Tuesday. Ransom is actually going to be cutting out partway through this hour because of barely published writers, but he's signed a few copies of his novel, which will be available in the book room right behind this room when we're finished. So if you're interested, it's been pre-signed for you. So Ransom, welcome.
Thank you very much, Elise. And the Barely Published Authors event starts at 7 p.m. over at the Makeout Room for you. And the Tuesday afternoon at 6:30 at the Mechanics Institute Library, we have Get Real, Reality and the Nature of Perception with a psychologist, a neurologist, an artist, and an augmented reality game designer, and a physicist, but that's me. So The Sensory Deception is my second novel, and it's based on what ifs, right? And it is what if people could experience the struggles of endangered animals. It would certainly alter their perspective, but could it change their politics? So in The Sensory Deception, 3 scientists develop a virtual reality system that immerses users in the experiences of endangered animals. And the idea for this book came about initially, the germ of the idea, from an article I read in the newspaper. And so this excerpt is kind of a true story. All she could see was blue screen. Then the intensity started to fade, and as it did, she felt warm. From her feet to her forehead, warm. The light grew so dim that the blue appeared gray, and then it was dark. Seconds passed, and faint white noise built up. And as it did, the warmth made it to her heart, generating calm, as though she were meditating. Her last articulated thought was that it had a nice effect, but this was not a saleable product. The monitor blasts white light, glaring white light that consumes her vision as its intensity grows. The white noise resolves into the sound of waves crashing on a beach behind her. And the white light resolves into flying flakes tinted in blue, green, and gray. Taste and smell combine in her nose and on her tongue, an acute taste of brine that she can separate into different wet, earthy sources like salt, fish, dirt, and snow, glorious snow. As she hunkers forward, great blasts of white cold blow against her face. She is aware of the cold the way that as you listen to a story, you're aware that you're listening, aware but not exactly conscious of it. She launches above the rush of snow. She roars and roars again. At the base of her awareness, it sounds barbaric, but at the front of her senses, in her eyes, her ears, her hands, even on her tongue and in her throat, she senses her identity in this voice. She finds herself on a great sheet of ice and starts sliding backward, but her nails, her great black nails, inches long and strong as daggers, cut into the ice and draw her forward, upward. The wind tears into her as she crests the iceberg, and great foamy waves fire icy tendrils up and over and into her from below. Deep in her mind, a question tries to work itself to the surface. Something to do with how it can be so cold, but she can feel so warm. Her senses tighten. Her eyes focus. She licks her nose and tastes the air. It's salty, yes, but there's something she wants. She smells desire. Hunger fills her, and she drops to all fours, roars again, and springs down the other side of the iceberg. She goes too fast, though, loses her grip, and rolls. She rolls through pillows of snow. She stretches out her limbs, and the rolling becomes sliding on a level plane of ice that ends in crashing ocean waves. A swell pulls her from the ice into the thick green and blue medium. The cold is replaced by an engulfing bath. Not exactly warm, it is wide-awake comfort. She swims under the ice. There, a seal with the large dark rings on its back that signify age. It swims with a jerky, unbalanced motion. It has a wounded flipper. She kicks and paddles. The seals scatter. Her target struggles behind the others. Reaching across her back with one arm, she pulls it toward her and takes its head in her mouth. She clamps down. It stiffens for an instant and goes limp. Her momentum carries her to the hole in the ice. She kicks and kicks again, accelerating with the seal in her mouth. She bursts from the water and slides up on the surface. She drops the seal and takes a deep breath. The smell of warm, bleeding seal flesh is hunger incarnate, and she eats. The juicy flesh melts in her mouth. The taste more wonderful than the smell. It is prime rib that has roasted for hours, charred skin surrounding tender red meat. Deep in her mind, just for an instant, the sensual saturation diminishes enough that her mind is able to resolve a single coherent human thought. It is so good she doesn't even want horseradish. She finishes and yields the scraps to waiting birds. Exhausted, satisfied, and enjoying the warmth radiating from her core, she lumbers back up the ice mountain. As she passes their breathing hole, 3 seals dive through. At last, she rolls into a fluffy snowdrift and, like a child in a swaddling blanket, nuzzles deep into this world. That feeling of appreciation becomes affection for all that she knows. She sleeps. Hours of exhaustion melt away. As golden rays of sunrise penetrate her white blanket, she rises and scampers back to the waves. She sniffs around the seal's breathing hole and confirms that they left hours ago. She steps off the ice shelf, and one pull on the water after another swims toward the golden ball of fire on the horizon. With her intrinsic buoyancy complemented by an occasional stroke, she covers the miles with the ease of a bird soaring on a thermal. At the forefront of her mind, even though she can see and sense only the limitless ocean, she knows that within hours she will come to another ice floe. It has always been thus. She swims. The hours pass, and she swims. The sun slips back below the horizon, and a great full moon rises before her, and she swims. Another day passes, another lap of the sun around the horizon and into the sea, and another. As the days of swimming pass, an alien awareness emerges. When at last she identifies it, the realization fills her at first with shock and then a waxing loneliness, as though she's been overlooked. The world has moved on without her. She's felt hunger. The unpleasant cycle of plenty and need is the grist of reality for the carnivore, but this other thing, this alien feel to the water, isn't right. The sea, nearly by definition, is the comfortable place. Warmer than the air, warmer than the ground, the sea is warmth and food and bliss. A horrible feeling works its way up her limbs and invades her. Just as it permeates the core of her body, it invades the core of her heart and mind. Cold becomes a force of evil. She needs rest, but when she pauses, she has to tread or she sinks. Something has stolen her buoyancy. The ocean, her friend for thousands of years, has turned on her. As her breathing slows and she struggles to hold her nose above water, light flickers ahead. Ice? With her nose bobbing at the surface, a wave catches her and drags her to shore. Then another pushes her up the beach, and another, until she finds herself lying in a foamy wash on gritty sand. She doesn't like sand, where the scouring properties of ice melt into cleansing water. Sand is filth that infects her eyes and nose. Finally, though, she can relax. She sleeps through the darkness. By the time she wakes, the sea has retreated. She rises above the driftwood, shell fragments, and a great pile of seaweed. A variety of both welcome and unfamiliar scents, accompanied by A rush of strange sounds overwhelms her. Motion up the beach steals her focus. An unfamiliar scent scares her. She ambles more quickly along the beach. Around a dune, she finds her prey. Without a pause, she vaults at the lone seal. But something's wrong. It moves faster than it should. It doesn't smell right. It makes strange sounds. There's nothing right about it. She pauses. And because she knows no other way to approach confusion, she roars. It is her roar, the roar that defines her being, but it is weak. 3 more of these wrong-smelling things surround her, and the weariness returns. A week, maybe even a day before, she could have parted these creatures with one lashing of her paw. But now she has nothing left. A consciousness she had long abandoned floats to the top, and she recognizes the creatures and the tools they carry. 2 men level their rifles at her and fire. Gloria sat straight up, hit her face on the monitor, and pounded the mouse with her fist, screaming, "No, no, no." Thank you.